The dog kept crying in front of the lion's cage for 3 days and nights. Not barking, not whining, crying. A soft, trembling sound that rose from deep inside his chest, like the sob of a child who has lost something he cannot name. Something sacred, something woven into the very fabric of his soul. Visitors at the Willow Creek Wildlife Sanctuary stopped mid-step. Children tugged at their parents' sleeves and whispered, "Mama, why is that dog sad?" Old men removed their hats. Zookeepers exchanged uneasy glances. Even the birds in the aviary fell silent. And still, Max sat. Day 1, sun high, heat shimmering off the concrete path, Max trembling in the shade of the lion enclosure, eyes locked on the shadows within. Day 2, rain fell in soft sheets, soaking his golden fur, but he didn't move. Harold brought him water, a blanket, a bowl of kibble. Max ignored it all. He only looked. To the bars, to the darkness, to the shape within. Day 3. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of pine and distant storms. Max's cries grew softer, weaker, as if his heart were running out of tears. But his gaze never wavered. On the morning of the 4th day, the sanctuary's head keeper, Eleanor Briggs, a woman whose hands had bathed newborn tigers and calmed terrified owls, stood before the director with tears in her eyes. "We can't let this go on," she said, voice breaking. "That dog is grieving something real. And if we don't act, he'll break his own heart." That's when they opened the gate. What happened next left the entire sanctuary in silence. Because no one expected a stray dog to make a lion, shed tears. But that is exactly what happened. As Max stepped inside the enclosure, the great cat, who had not moved in weeks, lifted his massive head from the concrete floor. His amber eyes, dull with illness and resignation, met Max's. And then, a single tear rolled down the lion's face. Not a trick of the light, not a drop of rain. A tear. Clear. Slow. Real. Max walked forward. No fear, no hesitation. Like he was returning home after a lifetime away. He stopped before the lion, lowered his head, and gently licked the great beast's forehead. The lion closed his eyes. A deep, shuddering breath escaped him. Then he rested his muzzle against Max's side, as if to say, "You came back." No one spoke. No one moved. Even the wind held its breath. Eleanor later said, "In 25 years of working with wild animals, I've never seen anything like it. It wasn't instinct. It wasn't curiosity. It was reunion." But to understand this moment, to truly feel its weight, you must go back. Back to a small wooden cabin at the edge of a quiet southern town, where an old man named Harold lived with nothing but arthritis, memories, and a golden retriever mix named Max. Harold was 68. His face was a map of sun and sorrow. Deep lines carved by decades of farming, loss, and silence. His wife Clara had passed 12 years ago, taking with her the music from his days. His daughter Lily had moved west, too busy with her own life to call more than once a month. So Harold lived alone. Until Max. They found each other on a rainy Tuesday at the county shelter. Max was listed as stray, possible trauma, unknown origin. He'd been rescued from a federal raid on an illegal exotic animal trafficking ring. The report noted he was found locked in a rusted trailer with cages of malnourished wolves, monkeys, and one young lion cub. Harold didn't know any of that when he saw him. He only saw the eyes, soft, haunted, but still full of hope. "He needs someone," Harold told the shelter worker, "and I've got room in my heart." 6 years passed. Max became Harold's reason to rise at dawn, his companion on walks through dew-kissed fields, his warm weight at the foot of the bed on winter nights. When Harold's hands shook too badly to open a jar, Max would nudge it toward him with his nose. When nightmares came, Max would press his head into Harold's chest until the trembling stopped. They were family. One spring afternoon, Harold decided to take a longer walk than usual. He followed the dirt path that wound behind his property, past the old mill, and into the edge of the Willow Creek Wildlife Sanctuary, a place he'd never visited but had driven by for years. Max walked ahead, tail wagging, sniffing the wildflowers blooming along the fence. Then, without warning, he stopped. His ears pricked forward, his body froze, and then he ran. Not playfully, not curiously, urgently. Harold called his name, but Max didn't look back. He sprinted past the giraffe enclosure, the zebra paddock, the aviary, until he reached the far end of the sanctuary, where the big cats were kept in quiet, shaded enclosures. Max skidded to a halt in front of the lion's cage and began to cry. Not bark, not howl. Cry. A soft, keening sound that came from somewhere deep and ancient, like a memory older than words. Harold reached him breathless, heart pounding. "Max, what is it, boy?" But Max didn't respond. He just sat, trembling, eyes fixed on the shadows inside the cage. There, barely visible in the dim light, lay a lion. Not roaring, not pacing, just lying, still, fading. His fur was matted, his ribs showed, his eyes, half-lidded, stared into nothing. The zookeepers came quickly. "Sir, you can't be here. That's a dangerous animal." Harold nodded. "I know, but Max, he won't leave." They tried to pull Max away. He resisted, not with aggression, but with sorrow. Every time they dragged him back, he'd turn, eyes pleading, and whimper, a sound so broken it made Harold's chest ache. That night, Harold couldn't sleep. He paced his cabin, images swirling in his mind. Max whimpering, the lion's hollow eyes, the trailer from the shelter report. And then it hit him. The lion cub, the one Max had been found with. Could it be? The next morning, Harold returned to the sanctuary with the shelter file in hand. He found Eleanor and showed her the report. Her face paled. "That cub. We received him 5 years ago. Rescued from the same operation. He's been here ever since. We named him Kito." Harold's voice shook. Max was with him, in that trailer. They were locked together for weeks, starving, scared. Eleanor looked at Max, now lying quietly by the cage again, and something shifted in her eyes. "I'll speak to the director." After hours of calls, risk assessments, and emergency protocols, the decision was made. Let the dog in. Under supervision, one time. They opened the gate. Max walked in like he'd done it 1,000 times. Kito lifted his head. Their eyes met. And the world stopped. From that day on, Max was granted special access. Every morning, Harold would walk him to the sanctuary. Max would trot straight to Kito's enclosure. The gate would open, and for an hour, the two would lie side by side, dog and lion, heads touching, breathing in sync. Kito began to eat. He began to walk. He began to live. The staff called it the Max effect, but the true test came on a stormy October night. Thunder cracked like the sky was splitting open. Rain lashed the sanctuary. A tree fell on the main power line. Alarms blared. Emergency lockdown activated. All cages sealed automatically. Kito's enclosure, a reinforced steel door, slammed shut. Inside, unnoticed at first, Kito began to seize. His body convulsed. Foam gathered at his mouth. His breathing turned shallow. But Max, sleeping in a kennel near the staff quarters, sensed it. He bolted awake. Ran through the storm. Scratched at Harold's cabin door until the old man stumbled out in his robe. Max barked, sharp, urgent, then sprinted toward the sanctuary. Harold followed, heart in his throat. Max led him straight to Kito's cage. Inside, the lion lay still, barely breathing. Harold pounded on the door. "He's dying! Open it!" The night guard arrived, fumbled with override codes. It took 3 minutes. 3 minutes that felt like eternity. When the door finally opened, the vet was already there, summoned by Harold's frantic call. "He's in acute renal failure," the vet said, working fast. Another 5 minutes, and he'd be gone. Max stayed by Kito's side through the night, licking his paw, resting his head on the lion's chest, as if to say, "I'm here. Don't leave me again." Kito survived. Weeks later, he was strong enough to be moved to the sanctuary's open range section, a 200-acre preserve where rescued lions could live freely under watchful eyes. Max still visits every month. The moment Kito sees him from across the field, he stops. His tail, once limp, sways slowly. He crouches, not in aggression, but in greeting. Max walks up, presses his forehead to Kito's chest, and Kito closes his eyes, breathing deeply, as if finally at peace. No words are needed. Their bond speaks in silence, in shared breath, in remembered pain, in loyalty that outlived cages, fear, and time itself. Harold watches from the fence line, tears in his eyes. He understands now. Some souls are not bound by species, not by logic, not by the walls we build between wild and tame, between past and present. Some bonds are written in the language of the heart, a language even a lion and a golden retriever can speak. And Max, he didn't just save Kito. He reminded us all that love doesn't ask for permission. It only asks for a chance to show up. 3 days of crying, 1 open gate. And a miracle that left the world silent. Because sometimes the most powerful stories aren't told with words. They're told with tears and the quiet courage of a dog who never forgot his friend. Years later, when Harold was gone, laid to rest under the old oak tree behind his cabin, Max continued to visit Kito. Not once a month, every day. The sanctuary staff built him a small shelter near the open range fence. They left food, water, a bed. Max never left. And every dawn, as the sun rose over the hills, Kito would amble to the fence line. Max would be waiting. They'd sit together, dog and lion, watching the world wake up. And in those quiet mornings, the world remembered. Some friendships are not made, they are remembered. Reclaimed, reunited. Because love, when it is true, transcends everything. Even time, even death, even the bars of a cage. And so, if you ever hear a dog crying by a lion's cage, don't look away. Listen, because you might just witness a miracle. and your heart will never be the same.